All right, everybody. I think we are live, and yes, we are live. How's everybody doing? Welcome to Philosapiens, where we critically examine the claims and concepts of religions. With me, as always, is Mahadin, and that means we have a English review. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna pick a few of uh, Dawah Dawah group streams, and we're gonna review them. A few of them are, most of them are shorts, but there is a couple of minutes of video, probably a 10-minute video a video clip that we're gonna review as well. Welcome, Hadin. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. I think we have one of our member missing, Kelly, but I hope he'll join whenever he gets time. But yeah, let's carry
Yeah.
on. So what we have here is everybody. This I think this is a group called Dawah Gents. I'm not quite sure where they're located. It seems like they are not in London. Basically, it seems like it's some other location. But Hadin, you'll be the right person to tell me that. But this guy, I forgot his name, but Imran is his name Imran. What his name is? Okay, forget about that. Aziz, I think Aziz Dawa. So
Yes.
it says
Yes.
Aziz Dawa, so he's probably Aziz, right? So he's having a conversation with an older gentleman who happens to be an atheist, and just critique the arguments that he presents to this older gentleman. So, Madin, before we jump in, do you have anything to say? Add?
No, I think we should just jump into it. I think we should just
All right,
jump in.
let's jump in. Oh, sorry, my bad.
Is what you do about believing in Muhammad.
I think let's put aside Muhammad, peace be upon him, in aside. We will do Prophet Muhammad's investigation in his own merit.
Yeah.
But your understanding of stardust, you come from stardust.
Yeah,
Coming from stardust, are you saying stardust created you?
yeah,
What is stardust defined?
correct. Universe.
Right. We know universe is contain pieces. So universe is not like one piece. Right.
Yeah.
Universe has human, water, animals,
Yes.
oxygen, a strong force,
Carbon
we
dioxide,
gravities, right?
hydrogen.
All of the things, right? So universe contains pieces. Are you saying that everything around you are the maker of you?
Yeah.
So basically, what you are saying is your God is you.
Yeah,
Did you follow the
I
logic?
did.
Right. Now that is called absurdity. You know what absurdity, my friend? When someone say, "I create myself,"
Yeah,
means that person has to exist before his existence. It's serious
Okay.
absurdity and serious logical fallacy.
If you had that, you held that, and you let go.
Now,
of
with
it.
due respect, I'm just saying,
I know, I know.
I've given you this breakdown,
I
and
know, I know, no.
did you get it? Though?
Yeah, I did.
All right, it's to start off with. He went on from stardust to things created to you existed before you existed. Basically, that's kind of an absurdity. So his point being, when atheist would have said that he's created from stardust, what he means by the components that are used in his body came from an explosion of a star. Basically, when star becomes a supernova, type 2 supernova.
I won't
It,
say explosion, not say an expansion, but
no, the supernova explodes basically when the fuel runs out of a star.
okay. Right.
Yeah,
I
it
thought
explodes and it
you meant
becomes a supernova. No, I'm not talking
yeah,
about the Big Bang. I'm
yeah.
not
I
talking
thought
about
you
the
were
Big
talking
Bang.
about Big
Yeah,
Bang expansions.
so the
A lot of
stardust is,
people, yeah, a lot of people say
and
a Big Bang with explosion. So I thought that's what you were saying. Yeah,
no.
fine.
This is a well-established science,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Supernovas explode. Yeah, yeah. Stars explode, etc.
stars
All that.
explode, and when they explode, they make
Yeah.
heavier elements, right? Most of the
Yes,
stars are made up of hydrogen and helium. Helium is
Yeah.
the byproduct of, the nuclear fusion, basically, of hydrogen atoms. But when the star reaches its final stages, it starts burning, heavier items and starts making carbon as well, pretty much. And then when its gravity cannot sustain the the nuclear fusion cannot sustain the gravity, it implodes and explodes. Basically, a part of it implodes and part of it explodes, basically, and the implosion makes the heavier elements due to immense gravity, right? So the carbon is made, and then the iron is made, and all these heavier molecules, oxygen is made during that process, and all this thing. So when the atheist is saying, I am reading too much between the lines, basically, right? When he's saying he's made up of stardust, I think Aziz is probably not getting what he means, and he's going on a tangent, pretty much, by the way. Yeah, and he's saying, and the atheist probably is not, I mean, this gentleman is not even saying that I'm made up. He's not saying he had consciousness. He's saying parts of his body have come from those things, basically, right? And that's about it. That's the only claim probably he has. So
Yeah, I mean, I see this sort of sloppy thinking a lot amongst very, very green and very, very prematurely trained or prematurely thought out Dawah bandits like this person. They seem to
yeah,
always catastrophize or misrepresent or significantly misunderstand, right? And it's a very common trait now amongst Dawah people. This guy is following the
the
trajectory.
same grain, same trajectory, exactly.
It's something that he doesn't fully understand. He's trying to apply critical thinking here, and he's coming out. He's saying this is absurd thinking, yet he is the one who's being extremely absurd here, because nobody nobody is saying here, especially the guy on the right, the atheist, wasn't saying, as you said, right, that he existed before and then he created himself. Obviously,
Exactly.
that sounds contradictory, right? And you may say,
Right.
that's like saying it's like saying somebody gave birth to themselves or something.
Right.
Whether or not that's possible, we can think about it, but there is a certain level of absurdity to it straight away. That when you think about it, you can't imagine
Right.
this to occur. But this is not what this guy is saying at all. So there's no real contradiction. There's no logical contradiction. This is more akin to the following: that the pieces of
I
the
think that's
Lego pieces. This is more akin to the following: the pieces of the Lego house that I built existed before I built
the
it.
Lego house was built, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So obviously, parts of the house, the components of the house existed prior to it, but the house obviously did. The house didn't build its own components. The components were
Exactly.
there and then assembled into a house, right? So if this person on the left, the Dawah guy, is trying to say that the house didn't exist, but then created itself, or the house already existed and then it created itself or something, then that sounds like a contradiction, right? But nobody's saying that the house existed or the house didn't exist in that sense. What we're saying is that components of the house existed, but the house itself didn't exist, right? So there is no contradiction here. So it's just basic cause and effect, and in any other situation that you might think of, and you see it everywhere. For example, let's think about salt, sodium chloride. Sodium chloride formed by the laws of chemistry, and it formed through sodium bonding with chloride, right?
Chlorine ions, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly. So sodium chloride. Now, would it be correct to say sodium chloride existed before? No. Would it be correct to say sodium chloride never existed in that? Yes. But would it be correct to say the components of the sodium chloride didn't exist? No. It did. Sodium and chloride existed in separate form. Would it be correct to say sodium and chloride didn't exist? No, it wouldn't. Where's the contradiction? Now, if you say sodium chloride created sodium chloride in itself. That's a specific sodium chloride molecule created itself. That's a
Yeah,
contradiction.
that would be a absurdity, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, we're saying that sodium and chloride, a chloride ion, sodium ion, was due to the laws of chemistry, if you want to call it laws, due to strong forces of attraction. There was a chemical reaction, and they bonded together. I think it's an ionic reaction. I take it, if I remember. Is it ionic
Right.
or is it covalent? I can't remember. As a covalent bond or ionic bond, whatever
I
it
think
was.
it's ionic bond.
Ionic.
Bond.
Yeah, because it's a crystalline structure, isn't it? So I think
Right.
it'll be an ionic bond. Yeah. So So crystalline structures tend to be, I think, ionic. And that formed a bond. Now, is that a contradiction? That means all of chemistry will have to be false if it's absurd.
Right.
But it's not. There's no contradiction there. So I don't know what this guy is even understanding here. So
I
obviously,
think what Aziz has done here is he has strawmanned basically the whole argument. The atheist claim is never that he created himself. Basically, all his claim is that the parts in his body, all the elements in his body, are an outcome of a stardust, basically. And this is partially true. I mean, a lot of the heavier elements are part of stardust, but not all the elements in your body are part of that. But that's perfectly fine, because some of the other elements were made elsewhere, basically, right? But by and large, he's right, basically, because hydrogen existed before the stardust, basically. So hydrogen in your body is not coming from stardust, basically. That's true, right? But then the straw man is basically saying that, did you create yourself? You are being absurd. So that's the straw man, basically, argument over here.
Yeah, I mean, him as a biological organism, with an identity, with consciousness, with several organic systems, the cardiovascular system, circulatory system, the neurological system. That didn't obviously exist. So that did not create itself. Of course not, right? The neurological system didn't create the neurological system. Now, so obviously that's not what we mean. What we mean is that the pre-existing elements, the pre-existing atoms, the pre-existing molecules, they predated him, and they were out of several events through laws of physics, laws of chemistry, in a very large universe. Through these sort of events, it led to the conditions for life to evolve, and then so on and so forth. Right? So the materials were there to some extent. I mean, at different stages they weren't there. I mean, it depends how far back you go, right? But it's entirely a linear series of different events. Nothing is creating itself in the sense that it was all fully formed, but then it needed to create it. It's like that's trying to imagine like a dog trying to eat itself, right, or something, or a mother trying to give birth to herself.
Oh, right. I mean,
she already exists. Yes, if the mother wants to give birth to herself, she already exists. So why does she need to give birth to herself, right? And it doesn't make a lot of sense. Whereas here, for this guy to understand, what all we mean is that he has to just think about it in the same analogy of the house or salt. The pre-existing materials that formed a human being were there. That doesn't mean Ian or Steve or whatever this person's name might be, or whatever it is. I'm not assuming anything. It could be like a European name. It could be like a name from the Middle East, even. I don't know. But Ian didn't create himself. Ian wasn't there and then just somehow generated himself. That's just a weird thought. So these are simple points. I don't understand. I'm struggling to understand that. The reason I'm going into depth is because if somebody missed this point, I'm just trying to be as clear as possible to get people to see like how absurd the thinking on the person, here, the Dawah person here is, that maybe he means something else. What does he mean? Do you think he's talking about the mere fact that atoms can't arrange themselves without a designer? Maybe that's what he's trying to say. I don't know.
I'm just wondering, and yeah, I mean, I should not do this. What I'm gonna do here, is this Dunning-Kruger, by the way, on play here? By the way, is it? No, maybe, I don't know.
I think it could be. Or
Yeah.
if he's clever enough to understand what's going on, then he's definitely been a bit of a trickster, right?
Yeah,
Playing
I
with
don't know.
words. Playing with words, like trying to create the impression that the atheist is being unreasonable, right? That's all. If he's smart enough to understand this, otherwise, maybe it's Dunning-Kruger. Yeah.
Yeah, I sincerely think so. I mean, yeah. Okay, let's not go there. Let's keep this question hanging in for our audience
Yeah,
to
I mean,
answer, maybe,
sometimes
and write it up in the comment section when they listen to it. Maybe, what do you guys think? Basically, is this Dunning-Kruger at play here with some of these guys, our guys, at least, not probably all of them, but at least some of them.
yeah. I mean,
Martin, you wanted to add something? Sorry.
yeah. What I'm going to say is that I mean, it's not absurd to think there's dishonesty involved. So it could very well be not Dunning-Kruger, but as we know, many Dawah people they latch on to things that sound like flaws and they catastrophize it, like Mohammed Hijab did with the debate with Alex O'Connor. When he said, "Yeah, there could be what was it now? Necessary existent thing, an entity or something."
Yeah, and then that's God. That's what we call God, right? I mean,
yeah. So when you're on front of a camera and you want to
Yeah.
win the debate and you be persuasive,
right.
in that passion, you may capitalize on words and twist them out of context. So this could be purposeful strawmanning or purposeful misrepresentation, so as to just score a goal in front of the camera. That's what could be happening here as well. Maybe it's a bit of both. Maybe there's a bit of
Yeah. I think there is there is a part of Dunning-Kruger here. I think at play. I mean, I'm absolutely sure about that, because
I mean, yeah.
it's probably I mean, see, Dunning-Kruger acts unknowingly. It's not a conscious thing, basically, right? You would not know and you still be suffering from it, basically. So yeah, and it could be, and you're right, it could be both of them, basically.
Yeah,
I mean, you of course you have to win the argument, and in doing that, probably you run into hit a wall against Dunning-Kruger, probably.
Yeah. I mean, think about the times when you were young, trying to argue with somebody where you knew you were wrong, and or in the wrong side, and you just didn't want to face the consequence of a situation or be deemed guilty. Like when you're arguing with your dad or your mom when you were like a young teenager. Hopefully, people don't do that anymore. But when you're really, really young and you know you're in the wrong and you just want to capitalize on something, and they may say something like, "Oh, do this," and then you go, "But you didn't tell me to do this properly. You only mentioned don't do this on the weekend. You never said it has to apply on the weekdays." When
Right.
you know for a fact that they meant it in a different way, they meant it all the time or something, and you're just playing around with words, being a bit of a smartass, right? Because in the heat of the moment, you just want to catch them out, right?
Right.
And sometimes that happens. And I sometimes think the Dawah people have that tendency. They kind of quick to capitalize on anything that they can twist.
Exactly. Yeah. True that. All right, let's move on. Okay, let's see what else he has to add on to this.
Okay. So what would you retract your position based on what I have said?
No.
Because you would not go with this reasoning along your life.
Right.
You don't. Would you say everything was self-created and everything is self. Now imagine all those baby will born, they are creating themselves, because the extension of your logic goes, everyone is the creator of yourself or themselves.
Yeah.
How? Is it
Because
absurd?
two people come together.
Okay,
They create.
let me just easily demonstrate it. Do you think this table was made by itself?
No, well, I've got something else to say to you.
No.
In defence, if you,
No, I'm just extending.
no, if I have this in my hand, if I let go of it, where does it go?
No, it will fall. Yeah.
It falls.
Yeah.
You know why it falls?
Yeah, of course, fall.
Why does it fall?
So what you are saying is, you are showing the effect of gravity, but you see the effect of it. You don't see the gravity.
No. You know why you don't see
What's that?
the gravity? Because if you look at Einstein's theory of relativity,
Yeah.
you will find that gravity is the most important thing, and it goes back to the creation of the universe.
But it doesn't prove your point anywhere. What I am going
Does,
no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's simple a mechanism from.
No.
So I am agreeing that
No.
if a page fell from my hand to the ground,
Yeah.
to the effect of gravity,
Yeah.
yes, it does not define or doesn't say that whether that book, how did it come about? So I'm going a step back from where your argument is.
Oh, it does.
So you take
It
your
does.
you.
It does.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. First,
The theory of relativity
in
goes
order
back
to-
to the origins
in
of
order
the
to-
universe.
in order to go down, first you need to hold it. Then you have a hand. You are yourself as a creation. You have to define where did you come from, and then universe come from.
Gravity tells you.
No, it doesn't. Let me tell you. Gravity doesn't tell you. Gravity itself a part of creation within the universe.
Yeah.
Right. So if you believe that, do you believe universe comes into existence?
So again,
Do you believe universe comes into existence? Means it was one point was not there.
yes.
Right. When did that?
Aziz is just jumping around pretty much from
Yes,
here to there to there to here, back
Yeah.
here, and then to somewhere else. Basically, I mean, if you listen to the older gentleman, he is probably a little bit wrong at points, somewhat, but I mean, uh, you know, he's saying he's not completely wrong. He's saying where do we come from, and he said from gravity, right? And he's partially right. Gravity is one fundamental force that is responsible for everything, but it's not the only one. There are three other forces as well, right? And weak, strong nuclear forces and the electromagnetic force, right? And all are required for everything else that we see to exist, pretty much, including us. And every molecule, every atom within us requires all these forces, pretty much, right? The three forces that I talked about, right? Including gravity, right? So in that sense, I mean, this atheist that he says that gravity alone is responsible, probably he didn't mean to say that, but he said gravity, and that's perfectly fine. Maybe he's just not so sure about all those things. But Aziz keeps going back to some different questions, right? Stick to one question, just get through that, right? So
Yeah. So this kind of helps confirm or strengthen the theory that he's being that that caricature that I was drawing of the teenager who wants to latch onto anything. Can you see that?
Right.
That hypothesis that I formed is it just Dunning-Kruger? I don't think so. He looks like a salesman. You know, one of those desperate to score that goal, desperate to make that fail, latching onto anything. So look, the conversation started from, can self-creation happen, right? And unfortunately, the old man said the wrong things. And look, when people say I form myself, they may mean it figuratively. They don't literally mean you were there and then you created yourself. Of course not. Yeah, the scientific point of view is that the components, as I said, components were there, and those things assembled over a series of multitudes, trillions of years, maybe more of events, trillions of processes, and that formed you, right? They don't literally mean
Right.
that, but he unfortunately took that bait, perhaps didn't expand that it's just a metaphor or just figurative language. Yeah, when he says, the baby formed itself. He should have just clarified the linguistic issue here, right? It's a linguistic issue, not a genuine contradiction or logical issue or problem in science either. But he took that bait. So unfortunately, he took the bait But then when they were talking about that, it quickly shifted to gravity, and then he went back to where did that book come from? And then
Exactly. Yeah. See,
yeah,
I
which is
mean,
a
the gravity. Where did that book come? Let's go back, right? I mean,
yeah.
it's
Now
jumping
he's gone
around.
back to
Sorry,
now he's
finish your
gone to
point.
the beginning
Yeah.
of now he's gone back to the beginning of the universe. Where did that come from? Etc. So that's a perfectly legitimate question. Fine. I mean, but it doesn't prove or demonstrate that anything regarding um, the absurdity
The
of
first point,
self-creation.
the first point, right? That
Yeah,
the absurdity of something creating itself. Did you
yeah,
exist before? Did you
yeah,
create
yeah,
yourself? Right.
yeah. I mean, it's perfectly consistent to say, well, what caused me? It was my parents or something, and what caused that through biological reproduction, and what caused that through natural
I
selection
mean,
or something.
you can go yeah, you can
Yeah.
go to
What caused
microscopic
those?
level and now
Yes,
talk about all those processes, basically,
yes.
right? I mean, yeah.
In every stage, there's no contradiction. It's just a linear series of causes. There's no circular loop of self-contradiction
Right,
where
right.
you're trying to create yourself, like a pregnant mother, a pregnant mother giving birth to herself, like a little loop, a reincarnating loop or something. That doesn't make any
Right.
sense.
Yeah,
It's not necessarily.
there's no such loophole there. I mean,
Yeah,
a loop there, not loophole.
yeah. And keep in mind what I mean by this loop is this self-creation loop where the A is the result. A creates itself. A creates A. There's no problem with the loop that where A creates B, B creates C, etc., etc.
Exactly,
Maybe
right.
the loop
I mean, you can trace that back to how many ever
yeah.
years, probably billions and
Yes.
billions of years, probably, right?
Yes. Yes. Exactly. And I mean, I'm even talking about. So it could be that the universe is linear, like C D A. Well, I should use numbers really. Like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2, and just infinitely back, just a linear loop, linear line, linear set chain of events. Or it could be a loop. It could actually be like A, B, C, D, E, F, and then it goes back to A, right? And some people might say that's a contradiction, but that's actually entertained within many, many cosmological models, and there's
Yeah, I
no
mean that's one of the possibilities. I mean, it's called cyclic, universe for no. I mean, yeah, for that very reason,
yeah,
basically. And this is just a model. Nobody's saying that that's the model, that's the reality, basically. It's one of the hypothesized models, basically, out of many others, basically, tons of others, probably, right? I mean, there's loop quantum gravity, there's what is that, string theory, all those different models, basically, or competing models. There's Carol Chen model, basically, right? And yeah, so many different models are out there, basically, right? And one of
yeah.
that model is cyclic model. Yeah.
Yeah, so this sort of cyclic model. Now, if it was such an absurd idea, how calm, people with PhDs in cosmology, in astrophysics, in physics, and so forth, coming out of elite schools, the ivory towers of, let's say, Ivy League schools, etc.
Howards and the Cambridges of world.
Yes, and people with exceptionally high IQs who have been tested. How come they've not detected this simple flaw that this pan? Hey, Aziz, maybe we've got it all wrong. Maybe we should get fire and relegate all of those guys and put Aziz at the top.
Yeah,
Do you think that's the
you,
case? Yeah.
you're on a takedown mode, basically, right
No,
now.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. If it was such an easy flaw, like 2 + 2
Yeah.
= 4, this is how did it escape us? Well, if you
Yeah,
think about it, let's
that's
think
why I'm
about this.
saying perhaps partially Dunning-Kruger at play here. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, let that be that be answered by our audience, whether this kind of apologetics really is Dunning-Kruger, driven by Dunning-Kruger or not. At least partially, I think it is, and partially what Mahadan is saying probably is
Yeah.
like that.
Now,
The
keep in mind, yeah,
childish desire to be right all the time, pretty much.
yeah. Just keep in mind what I'm saying, though. How the cyclic model might be distinguishable from the philosophical sort of thought of a pregnant mother giving birth to herself. So when you say a pregnant mother giving birth to herself, it's like saying A created A, and that might be a contradiction because we're trying to say that A didn't exist, but A existed and then created A. Now that
Yeah, it is
sounds,
in formal logic, P and not P, basically. Not
yeah,
possible.
exactly.
It's a
Exactly.
contradiction.
On the other hand, here, listen to this one. This is might be why the cyclic model isn't deemed a contradiction. A creates B, creates C, creates D, then that creates A.
And that's
Yeah,
perfectly fine. Yeah, that's
that, yeah, that
perfectly.
is, yeah. And you can even, is it like a square triangle? Is it like A and not A? Or is it like a dog existing and not existing? No, it's not, because you can actually imagine this happening. Imagine A, imagine B, imagine A causes B, imagine B causes C. But imagine in this kind of structure, A disappears. Imagine D causes E, and then F causes A again, right? And then A again causes B, right? That's not a contradiction. I'm just thinking of. I'm not saying that is
I mean,
exact.
I can give a very easy example for that. Just think about the water cycle, right?
Yes.
Water heats up in the oceans,
Yeah.
rises up, comes down to the land where it cools down, condenses, falls down as water, flows down through the rivers, mixes back into the rivers, to the oceans, and then the cycle follows, right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's you can imagine some sort of an example like that. It's the same water, right? It's just
Yeah.
it's creating itself in a sense, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
But
that's
it's going into different forms, basically. A, B,
yeah,
C, D. A is
yeah, yeah,
A is
yeah,
water, B is steam, C is
yeah,
condensation or whatever, right? And
yeah.
you get the
So,
point,
so
basically. Yeah.
yeah. So when you say it's like the water creating itself, that's where it goes wrong for these Dawah people. When they hear that, they think it's absurd. So I wouldn't use that language with them, because they don't understand metaphors and figurative language. We're not literally saying again the water creates itself in the sense of the water creates itself in the sense that it didn't exist, but it had to then exist for it to, then it doesn't make any sense. But if you just imagine the water cycles circulating, or if you just imagine rain, clouds, vapor, condensation, and it having this kind of circular loop of condensing, vaporizing, turning into precipitation, dropping again, becoming liquid. And just that's not a contradiction. Is there a contradiction there? No. You may say, where did this loop come from? Fine, but nobody's saying that the loop necessarily came from anywhere. It could just be eternal. There is no
Exactly. I mean, it could just run again and again and again without
yeah,
any problems. It's just changing
yeah,
forms, basically, right? It's
yeah, yeah. Now, on the other hand, now try to imagine a pregnant mother giving birth to herself, and that's a bit more difficult. Now try to imagine something, a square being a triangle. That you can't conceive that. Yet I've given you, we have given for our viewers conceivable models, not just conceivable models, real life models that could take the cake. So it's not logically impossible or anything like that.
right.
So yeah. But okay, so this guy just now stopped talking about that, and he's now talking about the creation of the beginning of the
Creation of
universe.
the universe. Now he's listen to the conversation further to see what he comes up with next, pretty much. Yeah.
Come about.
They're still trying to find out.
No, they
Yes.
right.
A little bit.
Universe comes into existence. First comes into existence.
Yeah.
Right. So if you believe that, do you believe universe comes into existence?
So okay.
Do you believe universe comes into existence? Means it was one point was not there.
Yes.
Right. When did that come about?
They're still trying to find out.
No, they looks at cosmic radiation, and they given 13.8 billion years.
Okay.
Right. That means that will take your position completely out.
Why?
Because if something has already a start,
Yeah. Well,
it cannot start itself.
But it
No, I'm not sure you are seeing your
did.
fallacy.
What is atomic reaction? Starts itself.
I'm not sure. I'm not following you.
Right. What is the power?
Okay.
The power.
So now let's go back. Let's go back. Follow me. If we agree both, 13.8 billion years ago, this universe comes into existence.
Before Mohammed.
Muhammad, peace be upon him, is not coming into discussion now.
He
No.
wasn't around
No.
when the universe was created.
No, he in nowhere in our Islamic scripture say that when exactly it started, but it tells us how it started. Allah said, أَوَلَمْ يَرَى الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا. Do the unbeliever not see?
No, but what's it?
The heavens and earth were in one entity, and Allah split them asunder. And within that, every living thing created from water. Will they not believe? So
All right, Martin. So many things packed up in here, right? Basically,
Yes.
first thing first. First thing first. I mean, he doesn't understand what is that estimation of 13.8 billion years is based on. Basically, I mean, he did say one thing which is right. He used some word which is not usually used, microwave radiation. Okay, that's perfectly fine. But there are other things as well. I mean, he forgot about Hubble, who, found about uh, galaxies accelerating away from each other. Basically, that was the first point which, when it was hypothesized that at some point Big Bang could have been a possibility, as in all the matter would have been together pretty much, which was later confirmed by microwave background radiation pretty much. So couple of things basically. And but he hasn't clarified what does it mean that the universe, what do the scientists mean when they say universe came into being 13.8 billion years ago, but pretty much, right? Because what they mean that at certain point, and which is they usually clarify very clearly, as in we can only go back to Planck time, which is 10 to the power minus 43 seconds. We don't know what happened before 10 to the power minus 43 seconds, because at that point all our physics breaks down, because classical physics can only take you to a certain point. After that, quantum gravity and quantum mechanics starts to take over, which we have no idea as to how uh, particles behave, or fundamental particles rather, quarks, leptons, and or even whatever was before that, because quarks, leptons, and all these came into being only at about 10 to the power minus 12 seconds or something like that. So I might be off with these numbers a little bit, but you get the idea, right? And at this point, the rapid expansion of the universe is taking place. It's called exponential expansion of the universe, pretty much, right? And the universe is cooling down from an almost infinitely dense state, pretty much infinitely hot state and dense state, to a cooling down universe. But the point I'm trying to make over here is none of the scientists says that universe came into being from nothing, or somebody would have created. They have no idea what they are talking about, what the previous thing was. I think we already, a couple of minutes back, we discussed this, that there are so many different models as to what was kind of quote unquote before that, pretty much, right? Loop quantum gravity is one. Roger Penrose's cyclic cosmological theories there. Chen Carroll model is there. Basically, so many different models are there, hypothesizing as to what was. There is another theory which is probably frowned upon by most of the theists, is the multiverse theory. Good old multiverse theory. There might be 10 to the power 500 such universes. Our universe could be one such bubble universe, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, that's correct. Well, if absolutely, yeah. I mean, if I could just illuminate for the viewers in an easy way to understand what we mean by the Big Bang expansion, or it being everything can be retraced back to this singular tiny point. Tiny, even the word tiny doesn't even qualify here to describe it. Is simply that through again, this is just an analogy. It's not exactly what I'm trying exactly what the Big Bang is, but it helps illustrate it, maybe even for like children. And I'm not assuming that the viewers need this. I'm just saying, if you're in an interaction or conversation with a Muslim who is talking about it this way, maybe you do need to describe it to them in a childlike manner so that they can understand it. Okay? And I say that with total disrespect. Okay, to an intellectual level, I mean, I should say. Because come on, this has been emphasized so many times. They should know it by now, right? So
Right,
just
right.
imagine, yeah. So just imagine looking through a telescope. Imagine scientists looking through a telescope and seeing that, the furthest that we can see, the furthest of the universe we can see is X many miles away. I'm even using easy language. It's obviously light years, but X many miles away or something. And beyond that, we can't see anymore. Now, is that exactly correct with the Big Bang? It's not exactly correct, but it helps at this elementary level for an elementary person. That is what we see with the Big Bang. That's what the Big Bang theory kind of is. We know that that's the furthest point we can go. We can't go anymore. Now, if I had to describe it in scientific terms, I'll have to describe it a bit differently. But when you understand it like that, that is where our knowledge is. Our knowledge of the universe traces to the Big Bang, and then it just vanishes. We can't see anymore. The telescope has limits. I can't see anymore what's going on. Now, does that mean that there isn't anymore? No. It just means our furthest eyesight, eye range, telescopic range, whatever you want to call it, ends there. Right? Now, people understand that as an analogy. That's kind of where it is. Another analogy might be the balloon analogy, where the Big Bang expansion, all it means is that the universe is like this big blown up balloon. And then when you imagine the Big Bang, you imagine the balloon deflating back to its original balloon form, and then it just stops. Does that mean the balloon in its original deflated form came out of nowhere? No. It could just be that's all that the Big Bang tells us, that the balloon has expanded to become this kind of big balloon. And in the past, it was this small until it just vanished, goes to
Yeah,
this.
on
Yeah.
a deflated balloon, basically, in a
Yes.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It doesn't tell you that the balloon never existed. In other words, it doesn't tell you that the universe never existed. It doesn't
right,
tell
right.
you. It doesn't tell you that there weren't more universes beyond it. Yeah, just like the telescope, we see all the way down to the other end, and you can't see any more of it. Does that mean there's no more, or does that just mean our range is faulty? Does that mean we need a bigger telescope or more understanding, etc.? In other words, there could be more universes. Yeah, there could be a constellation of universes. We just don't know. That's
Yeah,
where our knowledge ends.
one more thing, Madan, here is that I mean, if you listen to a couple of, if you listen to Roger Penrose, basically,
Yeah.
and he's, I think, 2020 Nobel Prize winner for physics, pretty much, right?
Mhm.
And he has said a couple of times that we don't really know how big the universe is.
Mm.
He estimates, and this is again his hypothesis backed by probably some data which probably he hasn't shared, or it might be just a complete speculation. And he has said that either universe is at least 10 to the power 23 times bigger than what we see. And what we see right now, I mean, as of now, through our telescopes, is about 96 billion light years across, pretty much. But when he says that it could be 10 to the power 23 times bigger, you can imagine how big it can be. But he says it's quite possible. And a lot of other cosmologists believe that it is quite possible that our universe is infinite, pretty much.
Mhm.
So these are all things that are so beyond our understanding as of now that you cannot make any conclusive, what do you call inference from it, basically, and say, no, it must have come from, just started off from somewhere. I mean, for all we know, it could have just existed forever in whatever
Yeah.
form. I mean, uh, if you talk about Big Bang as a rapid expansion, which it is pretty much, and it is believed by most of the world's leading cosmologists, they don't
Mm.
say that Big Bang is creation from nowhere. All they say, what we understand of Big Bang is just this rapid expansion of universe from very hot, very dense state, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And uh, it could be any other manifold before that. I mean, all we
Yeah.
understand is energy and matter. It could be some other manifold before that, which we have no idea what it could be, very much.
Yes. Yeah.
So I mean,
Exactly.
these guys, what they do is they take this kind of very vague understanding of science, and mold it to their own kind of agenda pretty much. And one more thing that Madan, I'm gonna say about this, and then I'll hand it over to you, is when he says he read this one verse from Quran, basically one ayah from Quran, right, which says
Mhm.
that and the earth were once together. Do not, and see, listen to the wording of that ayah, basically, right? Do not the unbelievers see that the
Mm.
heavens and the earth were once together, and we clove them asunder, or we parted them, basically, right?
Yeah.
This is the time that whenever, imagine that this verse, this ayah was being revealed at some 1400 years back. Do
Mhm.
you guys not see? Okay, who has seen this event that the heavens and the earth were together? This comes from some old Egyptian, what do you call, mythological tales, basically, right? And
Mhm.
anybody who's interested, there's a lot of matter on Wikipedia about this, where this comes from, or if you search on Google, you'll find it. But imagine, it's talking about splitting heavens and earth, but we know that heavens and earth are still part of each other. I mean, earth is part of heavens, whatever you mean by heavens, right? Earth is part of the greater cosmos. It's not separate from it. I don't know what they mean by separate, basically, right? I mean, you'll have to do a fallacy of composition pretty much here if you do that, because heaven and earth are still part of one single thing. Basically, heaven is the bigger thing, earth is just a very small, tiny, tiny, tiny thing that that is inside within those heavens. If you mean heavens by, through the Big Bang, something came out of, right? And this universe, basically, if you mean to say that, right? That's the second point, and that's really deceptive, because anybody who listens to it and doesn't understand what exactly the Big Bang is, and they are just appealed by it pretty much immediately. Oh wow, how could this prediction be in, in a text 1400 years back, uh, when we only came to know it just, couple of uh, just a century back, pretty much, right? Not even half a century back, pretty much, right? So this kind of an argument baffles some of them who are not that well versed in science, pretty much, right?
Mm. I mean,
Right.
these sort of cosmological mythologies, they existed predating Islam, as you said. I think the
Yeah,
ancient
a
Sumerians
lot of them, Martin, a lot of
and,
them. I mean,
and
Sumerians had a lot of them.
yeah,
Mesopotamians had a lot of them.
yeah, even far out into Japan, and the Japanese ones are very similar as well. There's been a lot of things that involve clumping things into one and then dividing them into separate forms, right? That things were one, and then it fragmented and separated and came from that one thing. There's one unitary thing, and then the unitary thing separated to form everything else. That's been recited and recycled from one culture to another culture. Has been heard over and over again. So it's not unique to Islam. That, so if that is foreshadowing, for example, the Big Bang, then all those mythologies are also foreshadowing the Big Bang, etc. And yeah, so that's not unique to Islam. Even Democritus talked about the atom, and he kind of give the idea that everything boils down to one kind of unit or something like that. And that out of context may sound like it's talking about the Big Bang. So you can take these things out of context, etc. But the fact that the Quran is reproducing something that's been said over and over again doesn't, it shouldn't excite anybody when we know that it's been repeated like that over time. I mean, some of them involve water. I know that, that things came out of water or something like that. Um, there was this kind of pool or something. I can't remember now, like a sea, and everything came from a sea or something like that.
Right,
But
right. I mean,
yeah,
imagine you are the creator of this universe, right? You're writing this book that's gonna live forever for like um, at least hundreds of thousands of years, right? As long as the humanity remains, right? you would use, if you really knew all these things to the very T, pretty much, if you were the creator of it, you would know in and out of it just like the back of your hand, pretty much, right? You won't use such a confusing language to communicate such an event, pretty much, right? That heavens and the earth were once together and we clothed them again. What does that even mean, pretty much, right? I mean, scientists don't even, I mean, anybody writing that kind of a scientific paper would be dismissed immediately, pretty much. What do you mean? Did you do any investigation? What are we talking about? What was there before? How much pressure was there? What was the density? What is that? What do you mean by inflation? How rapid was the inflation? What does the graph look like for the inflation? What is the curvature of the universe, basically? Was it less than zero? Was it zero? Was it greater than zero, basically, right? That's kind of the things you would really clarify, right? And at least detail out. So these kind of verses getting into a book and being ascribed to as scientific is highly absurd, in my opinion. Basically, somebody even trying to fit them in as scientific miracles is highly absurd. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
You want to add something, or shall we just run further?
No, no, just run it further.
That's where I become a non-believer.
Right. No, but you shouldn't be unbeliever because it was addressed before giving the sign. Say, awalam yaral ladina kafaru. Do that not unbelievers see? So Allah is saying you to see something, and then you, after seeing, how can you become a disbeliever?
How can I believe in something when the creation was so many billion years beforehand? I believe in that.
No. Now let me give you a logical possibility, because you cannot go back to the time and take a photo, because this wasn't done and you are not that present. So the best possible tools we can apply is the tools of reasoning.
No.
It is.
No.
Tell me what.
No.
Give me another option.
No,
How can we know that?
You go back to time.
Okay. How do you go back to time?
Quite easy. When you look at a star up in the sky,
Mhm.
9 times out of 10 it doesn't even exist. It disappeared millions of years ago, but the speed of light is still traveling through space.
No, I know this. These are known things, but it doesn't relate with the question.
Yes.
You're not addressing the question.
It does.
No, it does.
Because you can find out, because you
No,
can
no,
go
no,
back through time.
no. What you are talking about is the phenomenon that the speed of light.
Yeah.
Right. For example, Qur'an makes a note. Mawaqi' al-nujum. Allah talks about a star. Position of the star. Qur'an makes an oath on the position of the star. That means Qur'an. How did Qur'an knows that the position? Qur'an actually,
because the Quran isn't that old, and that star's been up in that sky.
I just want to listen to this one again.
Now
Sorry.
going back to the point, I think we are diverting.
Up in
that position of the example, what you are talking about is the phenomenon that the speed of light. Right. For example, Qur'an makes an oath. Mawaqi' al-nujum. Allah talks about a star. Position of the star. Qur'an makes an oath on the position of the star. That means Qur'an. How did Qur'an knows that the position? Qur'an actually,
because the Quran isn't that old, and that star's been up in that sky for quite a time.
Okay. Now going back to the point, I think we are diverting. My question.
All right, I didn't quite get his point here. Why is he talking about that prediction? Did you get the point? It seemed like absurd. One thing I'll tell from this anyway here, Madan, and to the audience, basically, right? All the stars are eventually gonna move to some different location, basically, because the sun is moving around in the galaxy. So their relative position is not fixed. It seems fixed because our lifespan is too short to observe it, basically. But if you noted, let's say, pole star's position today, which is whatever 20 3rd of 3rd of October or 2nd of October 2024, and let's say 2000 years from now, you'll see a change in its location by a minute degrees, but you'll see that change because the sun is moving around in our around the center of our galaxy, pretty much, right? And that position is going to change, and it's not going to change by a huge amount because distances between the galaxies humongous, basically, right? So even if the sun goes around couple of hundred, couple of tens of light years, tens of thousands of light years around, distant stars won't have that much of a change unless until those stars are within our own galaxy, right? So that's the point. I think this guy doesn't really understand what he's talking about, right? And why would a god need to take oath on a star? That's a material thing basically, and it's gonna die out sometime, right? Pretty much. Madhav,
Yeah.
you want to add
Yeah.
something to it?
To
I
be
mean,
honest,
atheist also made some errors. I think he's probably too, maybe he's not well versed with philosophy and as well as science, probably. Yeah, maybe that's what I'm my thinking, or is probably too old to recall all those arguments. I don't know what the case might be with the gentleman, but at the same time, I think Aziz's arguments are, absurd, I think.
yeah, I mean, the old man doesn't seem to be a very good advocate for whatever position he's trying to advocate. He's probably
Yeah.
not with it, or he's not as quick-witted, or he's just not as insightful or accurate with his language, and many other things. And that could be down to many reasons, including his old age. I don't know, but whatever the case, Aziz, in terms of Aziz, obviously the person that we strongly disagree with, because we generally probably agree with the old man, but he's just not articulating his case well and defending himself properly here. Having said that, that doesn't mean that Aziz is doing good on his own. He's because he's just jumping around, because the original issue was that the old man was contesting what. How can he know something happened millions of years ago, or something like that, which is obviously wrong to ask. I think that's what he asked, right? Something. He proposed the question of the impossibility of knowing something millions of years ago, or something billions of years ago, and
Right.
in order to highlight the fact that you're assuming that God caused the universe, but how would you know that happened millions of years ago? So, first of all, I think that's kind of wrong, because we already know things that happened millions of years ago. That's not like a technological, not necessarily a impossibility per se. It's not like a technological impossibility, or it might be a technological limitation so far to know something, but we already know lots of things that happened billions of years ago. So why can we not know something that happened a bit more longer prior to that? That's not philosophically or scientifically impossible. We don't know that it's impossible. But maybe if I have to be charitable, I would say that the old man was trying to say, how could you know what happened before the Big Bang? Which might be a legitimate question. But then Aziz misunderstands that, and he thinks that he's trying to say, and I don't blame Aziz for misunderstanding it, because the old man didn't articulate it properly, if that's the charitable interpretation. Aziz thinks that he's trying to say that we can't know things that happened in the past. We can't know things without, that happened millions of years ago, which is obviously, if that's what the old man was saying, it's wrong. And therefore, Aziz
Right. I mean,
capitalized.
we do the inference to best explanation pretty much, right? I mean, for the past experiment, because we can't see them. But
Exactly.
some of the things we can see them. I think the old man did mention that we can see some things basically because lights, because of the nature of light's limited speed, pretty much.
Yeah, but then Aziz capitalizes on the old man's mistake and then says something about, oh, we can know things in the past. Do we need to see it with our eyes to know something happened a long time ago, or something like that? So we have to use our reasoning, and that's not entirely true either, because we use a combination of our. So I don't know what he means by reasoning. Clearly, an inference to the best explanation involves some form of reasoning, but it's not just merely reasoning, it's also empirical evidence and predictions and science. We don't simply use a priori pure reasoning to deduce, for example, light the light from a star existed X many years ago, light years ago. We are using an inference based on a lot of empirical observations that we made as well. It's a combination. So I don't know what. So Aziz
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
wrong.
This is one of the things that they don't really see that far. I mean, it's a combination of things. It's not just one thing, right?
Yeah. So Aziz is wrong there as well. But then Aziz then proceeds to talk about things that we can know about from in the past, and then challenges the old man on that, and then the old man responds, "Well, there's another possibility." And Aziz goes, "There is no other possibility." It's just reasoning. He goes, "No, there is another possibility." And then the old man makes a massive, almost cartoonish kind of I won't say a blunder, but so do you know what's going on here? Now both of them look like salesmen to me, right? Both of them, when I say salesmen, they're just trying to catch each other out or something. I don't know. Maybe.
Right. I mean, why I'm giving a little bit more benefit of doubt to the older gentleman, because he's probably not as well versed in dealing with, these kind of debates or discussions, probably. So he hasn't probably thought out his atheism properly, I would say, right?
Well, you can say the same thing
He may
about
have his
Aziz.
own, yeah.
Yeah,
So
you can say the
his
same thing about Aziz.
articulation is a problem. I think his articulation is a problem. It seems to me. While on the other hand, Aziz is a seasoned apologist, pretty much, right?
I
And
want to say,
so, yeah, I mean, seasoned in the sense that he's at least been out there for some years, I would assume, or at least
he
few
look,
months, few
yeah,
outings.
he look, I don't know. Insofar these Dawah apologists can be called seasoned, maybe even then I wouldn't say seasoned. But I mean, you can be charitable in the sense that the old man is probably just old and not familiar with philosophy and so on. But you can say the same thing about Aziz. But I don't know if Aziz takes this much interest in trying to understand the truth, then you could say that he has a higher burden to try and meet, and it therefore isn't afforded that much charity. And he's got youth on his side, and he's got literature on his side, and he could have learned more about what he's talking about, and he didn't. But I don't want to be so slanted here and just be charitable to Aziz and charitable to the old man and not Aziz, simply because you can kind of say the same thing about the old man. Why is the old man so interested in these things? So maybe frailty is the issue, but whatever the case, I don't want to go too much into the extenuating circumstances behind these guys. The thing is, Aziz, what was the thing? The old man says this kind of massive blunder. He says you can go back in time. Now, I don't know if that's a metaphor. And it is, again, poor language, whatever. But if he literally means it, I don't know what the heck he means. Then Aziz capitalizes on that. He goes, "What do you mean go back in time? What do you mean go back in time? You can't go back in time." And then old man says, "Yeah, we can know about a star, and we can go back." So the old man, it seems like it was a language error, perhaps. Old man didn't mean back to the future, time machine, go back in time. What he means is you can make an inference to the best explanation based on existing evidence about the past, right? And then Aziz completely changes the subject, taking on from that. So this is again salesmanish. The point was just a few seconds ago before going into that. The point was about we can know things in the past, and then he just kind of drops it, and then he just takes on from the star example that the old man gave about the star, and he starts talking about the Quran prophesizing stars doing certain things. So it's now gone back to the scientific prophecy, right? So it went to the beginning of the universe, scientific prophecy. There was another scientific prophecy just around the beginning of the universe, and before that, they were talking about contradictions and self-creation, and it's just jumping around from one place to another, not really finishing anything. So whatever route, whatever opening Aziz is finding, he's using it to proselytize anything, just to make the magnificence and majesty of the Quran as brilliant as possible in this 10-minute sequence of conversation. Anything he can do in order to leave an imprint of prowess or awesomeness that he can create to this old man. And I think the motivation behind Dawah propagandists is that, because it doesn't really matter if it's a structured, logical conversation. What matters more if you save someone from the hellfire, and by any means necessary, if you can pull on their heartstrings, pepper them with millions of arguments, showcase the brilliance of the Quran here and there, drop bits, anything, so as long as you can find a route into his heart, somehow. And that's what they're doing. And that's why it's peppering him with all these kind of different angles and tangents, really. Yeah. But
Yeah, Madan, right. I think we have a few comments. I think somebody is asking about Nutfa, right? And I don't know why you're asking this. I think this stream is not talking about Nutfa, by the way. It's mentioned in Al Quran 76:2. It's small amount of seminal fluid composed of semen from the man and arousal fluid from women. They mix inside the womb and create okay, I don't know what leanings you have, but it doesn't. So Nutfa has very different meanings. It has 2-3 different meanings as far as I remember, but none of them is sperm, by the way. It does talk about Nutfa is usually taken. Yeah, it's usually taken to be water or drop of water, basically. It's more precisely, it's a drop of water or drops of water.
And guess what? I think people, not just 1,400 years ago, but 100,000 years ago, whatever sort of species
knew about that. No, you don't even have to. Sorry, Mahat, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think they would have known when they were, having intercourse, that this kind of liquid water comes out of me and it goes inside the woman and it mixes with the woman.
Yeah, I mean, there's no rocket science about it, pretty much, right? There's no.
Not only that, not only human beings, even dogs probably know that. Cats probably know that.
Yeah, I mean, see, I mean, but to be fair, I think sleeping is just asking in jest, pretty much, right? But to be fair, even Aristotle knew about this kind of embryology, basic embryology, and then in the Hellenistic scientist called or doctor, what would he call scientist? Let's call him scientist. Galen wrote his seminal work, and seminal is pun intended, pretty much. So he did write about a whole book on embryology, pretty much, right? And he does talk about all these things, and he got a few things wrong as well by the standards of today's, embryology, because we have much more details due to the equipments we have developed in sonography and all those, and to looking into the very details of a childbirth, pretty much a formation of a zygote and all those things, pretty much, right? Anyway, we digressed from this original sleeping. Sorry, we're going to move on to a different thing. If you have anything about what we are discussing, please ask a question or contribute.
So
I think we did. Yeah, Madan, please go ahead.
No, he's saying that he can support this. Support what? What's the point that you're trying to support? That it's semen, or is it sperm? Oh, sorry. He's okay. Yeah, there's an early book of Tasfir which pretty much copies. Yeah, there we go. Woman's blood mixes with semen.
Yeah, I mean, this was well known at the time of Galen, as well as, I mean, Galen was at about 300 after what do you call a CE common era, basically, right? 300, 350 or something like that. So it's 4th century common era that Galen wrote his work, pretty much. So yeah, I think we'll do a stream separately on that embryology and all those things. But yeah, we're gonna go back to we don't want to derail our stream.
Yeah. I mean, even if the Quran said something like there is this liquid semen, refers to this little fluid created by the man, and there's something inherent within the fluid that is the source
that creates
of
that creates the
Yeah, that is that
geometry.
is a
Yeah.
source of source of offspring production, let's call it, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that still wouldn't be such a leap of the imagination, because what else would you? How else would you describe it, right? Would so of course something within the semen. That's the most commonsensical observation, right? It's not going to be outside of it, right? You're going to know that. Let's say you're the first human being who's just procreated with somebody. Yeah. So say you're Adam. We obviously don't believe in Adam and Eve, but let's hypothetically imagine there was an Adam and Eve, and let's assume Adam procreated with Eve. He's going to know some liquid popped out of me, popped out. I'm Adam right now. Some liquid just came out of me, went into the woman, right? Now, and then the woman, Eve, got pregnant, and it seems as though there's something about the liquid, something within the liquid. Now, imagine if Adam says there's something within the liquid. Eureka, there's something within the liquid that allows for this kind of offspring to spawn. Well, of course, it'll be something within the liquid. Now, does that mean he knows that this liquid contains like 2 billion sperm cells, individual sperm cells that look like tadpoles, and they have tails, and they can carry genetic material, each one copies of genetic genes, and those genes are, a double helix? No. He doesn't know that. Now, if he said all that, those specific kind of description, that would be quite amazing. But instead, if you
Yeah,
just
but
know
see, Madan, the apologists are gonna take the route of, as soon as you put them against the wall, they're gonna find another escape route. Hey, this book is not about science; it's about science, SIG, and this is the typical Zakir Naik, uh, statement. You remember, right? And no. Why should it give all the details? It's just giving you a hint, right? That's their escape route, pretty much. But I mean, I see your point. I do agree to it. But the kind of claims it makes, and then those are picked by these Dawagandists, basically, right? Is really ludicrous, to say the least, pretty much, because it doesn't it it's stating the obvious, basically. It's not imparting any new knowledge, right? How could you take it as a knowledge unless what you mentioned, basically? I mean, even if it gives the fraction of details of what you just mentioned, then
yeah. So the
still then
sign,
you can assume
sign
that
versus
something is,
the
yeah,
sign, yeah,
then at least you can say that
the,
something is crazy about
the,
this book, pretty much. Yeah.
yeah, the signs versus science dichotomy is irrelevant, completely irrelevant. The question is whether you want to call it a sign, whether you want to call it a science. Was it knowable? Did it require miraculous or divine interventions or super intelligence, or did it require some sort of cosmic power in order to enlighten man of the time, or was this understandable, comprehensible? Was this traceable from other civilizations? Was etc. And if you can explain it by saying that, in fact, this is within the ambit of knowledge of man of the time, or you can explain it through plain basic observation, then that just falls apart, right? Etc. The science versus science dichotomy is irrelevant.
Yeah,
Completely.
I totally agree with your point. I'm just saying that they have an escape route, pretty much, right? And this is what we need to tell our audience, that no, the escape route that they find, you don't have to let them escape out of this,
Yeah.
science versus science
Yeah.
dichotomy,
I mean,
basically.
one thing you can say is okay. Let's say it is a sign. All that's trying to say that the creator of the universe just left a sign, but is that a sign of the creator's understanding, or is it more of a sign of human understanding? It's still, yeah, it's a sign. Fine, let's call it a sign, but it still signifies sign. It's signage of human imprint, not a human footprint, not divine footprint, right? So no, it doesn't make a lot of sense to say that it's just a sign from the divine, right? When the sign can also be explained perfectly legitimately by saying, look, human beings knew water came out of the penis and it went into the woman. There is no details
Madan,
about.
Maybe using those kind of words is gonna restrict our stream.
I don't
I
know.
don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
human beings knew that water came, a discharge of water, looking
Yeah.
liquid came out of the male organ,
The male part.
right?
Yeah, male
Yeah.
organ. Right.
The male part is a penis. I don't understand the issue here,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, YouTube is funky, right? YouTube is
Yeah.
funky. I don't know when the YouTube algorithm kicks in and flags something for a stream.
Right.
I don't know, but I think we should go ahead. If it does flag it, so be it, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the male organ produces this water, and now the Dawa people completely misunderstand why people say it doesn't have any scientific details, because they're the one who's saying is that this was beyond its time, and therefore it's relevant to talk about the scientific details, because the reason we introduce the scientific details is to say that those specific scientific details would have been somewhat miraculous, right? At least it will qualify for our attention to go, all right, wait a minute, nobody at the time knew this. Now we have to think about how did they know this? I mean, DNA, the specific DNA molecule, double helix, was only known through microscopic knowledge, let's say.
Stores the genetic knowledge and all those things, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. So they miss the point. They start off by saying there's a scientific miracle, which means that there was knowledge beyond its time. And then when we try to explain that no, this is not knowledge beyond its time, what would qualify as knowledge beyond its time? Then you can't go back to saying that, oh, it's a sign though. No, you're missing the point. You're the one who was saying it was knowledge beyond the time. So I'm now
Right,
talking about
right. I mean, either you don't claim it, and
yeah,
if you claim it, then bring a
yeah.
real sign, basically, right?
Yes, yes. This is why, and this is exactly why I'm talking about knowledge beyond its time. This is why I'm talking about where is the sperm, where is the nucleus, where is the billions of sperm cells, where's the DNA, um, what about the structure of the DNA? What about the four nucleotides of the DNA? The reason we're talking about that is because it would have been knowledge beyond its time, which is what you started off with, right? But then you start telling me that it's just reproducing knowledge that people could know by basic observation, and people that Galen knew, then it's not a sign from God, it's a sign from man, right? That's a sign of man. If anything, that's a sign of man. It's
Right.
signposting to man-made creation, because that's what man knew. So they just missed the entire point. That's why I think it's kind of not. It's first of all, it's irrelevant, but it is just daft, to then just talk about science when, yeah.
But yeah, this argument is used. I mean, these kind of arguments are used by so many of these apologists. I mean, I can't tell you the number. If you go and listen to all these channels, there would be. I mean, they wouldn't take a moment's time to say that nutfa means sperm, basically, right? Nowhere in any of the dictionaries. You go to Lane's lexicon, you go to Lisan al Arab, and any of the dictionaries that existed before 12th century or so. At least there are four that I know. Nowhere is nutfa mentioned as something, a very small unit of your uh, seminal fluid, pretty much, right? And that's the kind of these are the kind of what do you call deceptive moves that these guys have to go to show that see how beautiful is our book, pretty much, right? How could somebody 1400 years back know all these things, right? So yeah, I mean, I have thought of going and telling these guys that, okay, tell me, show me one dictionary from uh, you know uh, 12th century or before, even Lane's lexicon and all those, and show me where it mentions all those things. They just can't do it. Anyways, let's get back to our original video. I think we digressed a little bit on this embryology kind of a discussion.
Yeah.
Or shall I run the video again? Oh, I think I even lost the chain of thought on that video.
Let's for this one, let's just watch 5 more minutes and just review one more video after this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think we'll target ending before 1 hour 45-minute mark, if we can.
Yeah. Yeah. Go on.
We agree that 13.8 billion years ago,
Yeah.
the universe started. I'll give you 3 propositions from the Quran, and and these are logical. I'm not giving you any
Yeah.
history
Yeah.
or any man's account. I'm giving you 3 reasoning, right?
Yeah.
And I want you to think. And I'm sure you are sincere, and I believe so.
Yeah.
You are sincere. Allah said, "Am khuliqu min ghayri shay, am humul khaliqun." Were they created by nothing, or they are the creator of themselves? Means, can something come from nothing?
In the creation of the universe, then the answer is yes.
Okay. You
Because-
are now.
because we
You
are-
are.
Yeah.
You are
The basic-
actually stating that nothing actually give birth to something. Means zero. Mathematically, if we say, "Wa alaikum salam, brother, how are you doing?" Thank you. Jazakallah khair.
The basic
No, no,
ingredients
no.
of the human body are contained
I
within
mean, with all due respect,
stardust.
that's your blind belief. Do you know it's blind belief? Do you know what is blind belief mean? Blind belief when you
Okay.
believe something, you cannot prove.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
I am not saying
One
no,
man proved it.
no, I am not saying that my belief is blind. I'll tell you why. I have many compelling reasons to believe, but you cannot justify your own reason. But I can justify my reason, and nobody can deny
You
that.
justify your reason to yourself. You haven't justified it to me.
No, I said you. First of all, in order to say I am wrong.
The universe is one mathematical equation.
Okay, now I don't want to lost.
That's a
I
religion.
don't want to lose the point here.
That's a religion.
I
that
have
matters.
asked you the key question, and we're trying to shifting the
Go on.
question, right? Where can you find something give 0 plus 0 equal give you 1? Is it possible?
No.
Then your argument is debunked
Why?
because you said nothing give birth to something.
Yep.
I want you from that point, and then Allah talks about amhumul khaliqu. Self creation is impossible.
I'm going to think about that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to you, my brother, a copy of the Quran.
I've got one.
Yeah, you got one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I got one.
and I have that's 3 criteria about to believe him as a prophet.
Listen,
Now,
I've got to go. When are you next out? I'll talk all night here.
so I'll be here in next Friday.
Okay.
I'm happy for you to answer your question.
I'll come back.
But it was a pleasure to talk to you. But what I would say to you, look, it is not win or lose in the discussion.
I know
It's
that.
all about my truth. And I ask, all my point here is to invite people to Islam.
Yeah. I've got the talk, but you're right.
Yeah, I'm having a great talk here.
Oh, good. Well, I might see you later. We got an event tonight.
All right, Madan, do you have anything to add here? I think he didn't add any point. He just said, can something come from nothing? Is 0 plus 0 equals to 1 or something like that, right? I mean, yeah, I think I'll answer just that point a little briefly. I mean, this is another example that's heavily used by Dawah guys basically, and they forget that it is at least understood that particle and antiparticle can come from nothing, pretty much, right? I mean, you can have a particle and an antiparticle, which was before nothing, pretty much, right? So you can have 0 and you can have a 1 and -1, pretty much, right? Basically. And this is just a very simple example to at least give them some food for thought. That I'm not saying that's like exactly the example that should give you credence into, okay, anything could come from nothing. There is a good school of philosophy of thought that thinks that nothing could come from nothing. But then again, the definitions change as well. How do you define those nothings? I mean, is that nothing a quantum vacuum, or is that nothing definitionally without any potentiality, basically? Which means that as soon as you say that something could come, or say a particle and an antiparticle come into existence from that nothing, that nothing remains no more a nothing, basically. So anybody who's interested in listening to our talk about nothingness, I think that was our very first stream of this channel. If you want to just go through our live streams of Philosapiens, the very first stream without any thumbnail, you'll see, I think it was in April 2023 when we started our channel. Madan and I talked about the concept of nothing, basically. So you'll see over there. But yeah, I mean, agree to that point that a large number of philosophers believe that uh, nothing could come from nothing, pretty much, right? That's been the standard view, pretty much. Madan, you want to add something to it, or?
Um, so I personally don't think the atheist should have.
Yeah, I mean, see, I'm not responding to atheists' weak arguments. He is probably not well versed in whatever he's talking about, right? He's probably right. I mean, he's just a run of the mill kind of an atheist. Probably he didn't think through his arguments properly as to what he's responding to, or how should a certain question, when posed by a theist, should be responded to. Uh, you know, how should those kind of answers should be responded, basically. So he's not thought through these questions pretty, seriously, maybe. And it's like one of those occasions when he ran into somebody who knows slight bit more than he does, pretty much, right? So yeah, I think we can finish this reviewing this, unless until there's something else further ahead, probably.
Yeah, I don't think he should have. The atheist should have started talking about some firmly put his
Something from nothing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, what he shouldn't have done here is that he should not have firmly placed himself in saying that the universe came from nothing or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's an error on his part, basically.
Yeah.
You're
So
digging a hole for yourself, pretty much, right?
yeah, I mean that's given there's multiple different views on the origins of the universe. That's not just one little understanding or one little
Yeah,
position.
that's more so because it's a positive assertive claim, basically, right? And once you say that universe came from nothing, you need to at least provide an evidence, basically. And you have shifted the burden of proof from the theistic guy to yourself, basically. And that's the problem here.
No, that's fine. It's fine if you have a burden of proof. I think atheists should have burden of proofs. I have a burden of proof, etc.
Yeah,
But
but at least for something that you can provide evidence for, right? I mean, yeah.
yeah, maybe so. But so this guy was obviously wrong in his cosmological knowledge, and he started talking about um, something from nothing. But even if he started talking about even if he granted that something can't come from nothing, obviously it doesn't really tell you much about what that something was. And yeah, these, I don't know, I think the conversation is too simplistic, oversimplistic for me to even comment on, to be honest, at this point, you know.
Yeah, I think I would say both have goofed up, basically. I think. I mean, atheist, all of a sudden, the atheist guy seems like he just can't hold his ground, pretty much, right? So
Mhm.
we have comments from Otangelo. I think I'm sure you remember him, right? So Otangelo, hi from both of us. From And what's your comment? If you have debt in bank and positive money in another, you may have zero money in the bank. But first, you need to instantiate that state of affairs, right? I think I'm not gonna dive into this something from nothing argument right now, because we're thinking of doing another review of another short. So maybe we can have you sometime and have a conversation about it. Because what do you think, Martin? Shall we run the short clip and review it, or maybe have Otangelo and talk to him? Up to you.
Let's bring on Antangelo because I want to ask him a question in respect to that.
Okay, Otangelo, if you want to join in, say yes. Then I'll share the link if you want to, and maybe have a chat for like 10-15 minutes or so. If you're still listening to us, right? So I'll post the link nonetheless. And if you're there, please do join. And if you don't join for another minute or so, then what we'll do is we'll continue reviewing our short. Basically, this was one of the longest videos. Rest of them are pretty short videos, basically, or shorts rather. All right, Madin, which one would you want me to go with?
Tangelo one?
No, I don't think Otangelo has joined us yet. I made the link public. I think probably he's left the stream, or maybe he's.
No, ask him. Tangelo, do you want to come on? We can talk about something from nothing. Well, I don't want to really talk about something from nothing, but I do want to talk about if he thinks that's contradictory. I want to talk about how, by similar vein, there's going to be very many theistic contradictory propositions, right? And if you think something from nothing is impossible, then you're going to have to think many of those propositions are impossible as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you as soon as you say something from nothing, is impossible, you get yourself into a huge trouble, my friend. I mean, you won't be able to hold your ground consistently with all that consistency that you think you could be, or you could probably. So anyways, let's run Madan, how about this one? Shall we do this one or do something else?
What were the other options?
All right, let's see. Let me just open another one. This one. Can you see it?
Yeah, let's try this one. This one's funny.
All right, let's see. All right.
You won't know which one was the straight path unless you took them all.
Wrong again.
You have to take all the paths to know that this one was the straight one.
Do we need to try everything to know
This is
things?
the point that I'm making, yes.
Have you eaten horse manure to find out whether it's food or not? Because according to your principle, we should eat everything, even horse manure that's over there.
We're talking
Wait. Let me finish. If you are saying to know what is food, good or not, you have to participate in testing everything. So you don't go to a nice restaurant, you go to the dustbin and you pick up every... Wait. Are you suggesting to know what is a good food, the best food, you have to try every single thing? You have to eat a dog and a cat, a cockroach and a snail and horse manure to know what is the best food.
You won't know which one was the straight.
That was funny. That was funny as well. All right. Okay. So I think this guy, I think what's his name? Indian Atheist or something like that. I think Indian Atheist, right? All right. I mean, what he says, and this is probably his question probably is coming from a Hindu perspective. When I think, as far as I understand, the reincarnation, birth and rebirth, kind of like it leads you to take all the kind of life forms. Pretty much, you have to reincarnate into almost infinite many. What do you call it? Reincarnations? I don't know, right? And then only you'll attain whatever, right? The final destination or something like that, right? And so he's probably bringing in that. I'm speculating. I'm not sure what his intentions are in bringing that. So he's saying if you haven't taken a path to check which one is the right one, the Christianity or the Judaism or the or Islam, or how would you know which one is the right path, right? So I think in that sense, probably I would say his argument might be a little bit misplaced. But then I'll let you expand on it, Madan, and then Mansoor's arguments are funny enough, pretty much.
Right. It really depends what it means, right? So if it means, for
Yeah.
example, that you need to investigate, research, understand, thoroughly comprehend, study different forms of religions and critically analyze different religious claims, and you need to do a comprehensive search. It's called what is it called? Critical religious scrutiny, or something like that. I forgot what it is. There's a particular term for it. But let's say that's what he's meaning. Then of course you need to do that, right? Of course, in order to Ontangelo just joins when we're about to move on from the topic to the previous topic. But
Otangelos, will request you to wait for like a few minutes.
Yes.
We review this short now since we have taken this up,
Yeah.
and then we'll have a chat with you, right?
Yeah.
If that's okay with you.
No,
No,
you
you
can
can stay in the stream. You can stay in the stream.
Yeah.
That's not a problem.
You can stay. It's just that when we invited you, we wanted to talk to you, but then we thought you're not coming, so we started a new video. But you can still stay.
You can stay in the stream, and you can stay in the stream. Okay, we'll let him join. But all right, go ahead with your.
Yeah. So if he means that you need to investigate, of course you do. You need to do that in order to know whether or not one religion is true versus others, right? Simply because how that's how we do kind of science as well. We test kind of different claims, we test different hypotheses, etc. Now there is obviously something to say that if one hypothesis has been tested with a significant level of a significant level of testing, predictions, etc. They made consistent findings, and it portrays one picture. Do I need to then go and check out all other hypotheses? Not necessarily, but it really depends on the topic, right? When it comes to, for example, religions. Takalo, would you be able to just mute your mic for now? There's a bit of a noise, right? So. Yeah, it looks like this speech of mine is getting more difficult for me to say. I think I'm a bit tired today as well. I think at this time of the night, I had a long day, so I've been talking all day as well. So it's a bit draining on me. So, but I'll do my best to explain this. But obviously, with religions, you need to examine different religions, and that means you are going towards the truth. If you've only been raised with Islam, if you've only been raised with Christianity, you're going to have blind spots. You're going to lack knowledge. You're going to lack information on that from the other side. You're going to only see one point of view. So if that's what he's trying to say, then that's, I think, perfectly legitimate. On the other hand, if he's trying to say that you need to become a Jew or become a Christian or experience life as a Jew first before you rule out that they're wrong, then how do then you'll never know Islam is correct. You can never know Islam is correct or Christianity is correct unless you live life as a Buddhist, unless you live your life as a Jew. And that some might say that doesn't seem right? But again, it depends. And
I think, Madan, what's happening? I think. Sorry, yeah.
Let me just finish the point.
Sure.
Right? But this is all dependent upon the context. So if you notice, the Muslim responds by saying that do I need to eat snails or all types of food to know that's disgusting or that's horrible or this is nice? Do I need to eat poo? Do I need to eat shit? Basically, to know that this is going to be less tasty than a chicken burger, right? I don't need to go try every other food, to know, Maybe so. This is all. So he's engaging
horse manure to be precise, basically. Yeah.
He's engaging in humor to explain his point but this is a bit of a straw man, right? It's all context dependent. Whilst it might be the case, you don't need to eat horse manure because we've learned about horse manure enough to know that you don't need to eat horse manure to know that it's going to be detrimental to your body, not very nice. It's not something that is considered typical human food. You can learn about this, and therefore you can know that generally maybe like an ice cream is going to taste nicer than horse manure. And for food, that works. This is disanalogous in the context of religions, particularly if specific religions' truth claims rests upon religious experiences. Now it's different. So it's a disanalogy. It's a false
I think
equivocation.
it's also about the quality of evidence, Madan. The
Mhm.
quality of evidence that the horse manure is not good for your health or detrimental to your health far out surpasses the evidence that certain religion X is true, basically, right? And X could be whatever, right? Christianity,
That's another
Islam,
point as
right?
well. Yeah, that's another point. But the other thing is what when you were mentioned quality, this kind of reminded me. Although we can kind of objectively know without experiencing horse manure that horse manure is going to be likely to be detrimental to your body and therefore not nice based on scientific knowledge, without subjectively experiencing the taste of horse manure, and say that although I've not subjectively experienced horse manure, I can objectively know that it's bad, and I can my subjective experience of chicken burger is enough to know that it's superior to horse manure, right? Although you can say these things, for example, about food, it's true though. In order to actually subjectively know that what horse manure tastes like, you have to taste horse manure, right? You
Right,
can,
right.
yeah, you will never know what horse manure tastes like unless you taste horse manure. You can have somebody describe it to you objectively. They can say it tastes repugnant, it tastes horrible, tasteless. Its odor is stench, is just pungent, but you don't know what that exactly feels like until you've tasted it.
Yeah, until you have tried it, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. I
Now,
mean, yeah.
now, in the context of religion, there are certain religious truth claims, as I was saying, does rest upon those experiences. Certain religions actually don't have this kind of objective framework of truth where you don't need to experience things, you just learn it like science. Like the Big Bang happened, you can objectively know it. Science, or the scientific miracles in the Quran, you can objectively learn it. There's no qualitative experiences necessary. But other religions like Hinduism or maybe even parts of Christianity, personal experience is a form of evidence, and you can only acquire that through the qualitative, not the quantitative. If that's the case, then he might be right. He might be right that you need to try at least. So if you're like a Muslim who's never had a personal experience, and and a Christian is trying to persuade the Muslim, and the Muslim may say the reason the Quran is true is because the science in the Quran. The reason the Quran is true because of the linguistics of the Quran, right? These are all objective kind of claims. You don't need to experience them per se in a qualitative sense. You just learn about them, right? But then the Christian may respond, I think all of those are false. But you cannot, you've not seen my evidence. The only way you can see my evidence is if you try to open your heart to Jesus Christ and have the subjective experience. And if you have that subjective experience,
Exactly. Yeah.
then you will
True.
see that, yeah. Now, in that context, he's absolutely correct. Now, you can be an atheist and think that's bogus, but my point is, in principle, in theory, that's a perfectly legitimate way of going about it. That's because different religions have different ways of producing their truth claims. And if religious experiences are a version of truth are proper, a religious experience is a methodology, let's say, to get to the truth for one religion, then that would be the way to do it. So this horse manure stuff doesn't apply here, right? Because if to make it analogous, it'll have to be like the person is saying that you need to taste horse manure to know what horse manure tastes like, right? And that would be perfectly correct. Mansur would be wrong to say I know horse manure is bad, but the other person would say, but do you know that it actually qualitatively how it qualitatively tastes? Do you know the actual experience of it? I know you know it's bad. I agree with you. It's bad.
Madan, can I stop you for a second? I think Otangelo has dropped out. Otangelo, sorry, we are keeping you waiting. If you join back again, please you do, and we'll just finish reviewing this in a couple of minutes, I think. All right,
Yeah.
go ahead, Madan.
Yeah, but so for certain religious propositions and claims, you do need experience, etc. So again, it depends what he's meaning. But if he means in the first sense, which is that you need to investigate all religions. It's absolutely correct. You do, because you might have missed out something. If it means that you have to actually live your life as a practitioner or attempt to be a practitioner of that particular religion in order to find what you're looking for, because the truths of those religions don't rest upon objective scientific or rational thinking, but simply through experience, then yeah. And in fact, if it was a debate between a Hindu and a Buddhist, the Buddhist will be like saying, you need to live life like this way and you'll see my truth. And the Christian might be saying, Hindu might be saying,
And
you
the
have to
Hindu
live.
might say the same thing. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Otangelo, let's take Otangelo, and if we need to come back to this video, we'll come back. I don't know, Otangelo, you dropped out probably because you've been waiting for a long time. We'll wait for you another minute. If not, we probably just finish this review and then close the stream, I think. Right, Madhu?
Mhm.
Okay.
But yeah,
Right.
just not to sit in silence until Untangelo. When he comes back, I'll stop. But you know that, so this is applicable to other things as well. This is applicable to other stuff as well. So even in certain general non-religious claims, we do say sometimes you need to experience something first before dismissing it. You know, in certain contexts, that experience is absolutely necessary, right? So the foods, for example, Mansour gave are obvious, right? In the sense that mere objective knowledge might be enough. Reports from other people might be enough. You don't need to go and eat horse manure to know that it's worse than, a donut, or ice cream. But what if the claim was the following? Pineapple pizza, is that better than other forms of pizza?
Right. I mean, some of these truths could be taken as, in some sense, quote unquote, objective, but
But yeah,
a large part of it would be subjective as well, right? I mean, you
yeah,
might, just like oranges or apples, somebody might say, "Oh, orange is better. Oranges are
yes,
better." Somebody might say, "Apples are better." And same thing is, when somebody says, "Hey, you should not eat probably a hog's manure," it's
mhm.
probably
Yes. So
a
Mansour,
universally true in a sense,
yeah.
basically.
But can you see how Mansour is oversimplifying, misrepresenting, equivocating, and so on?
Yeah.
His own food example, yeah, is defeats him because imagine if you only had 10 fruits. Let's make it easy. Imagine in the entire world you only had 5 fruits: banana, apples, cherries, oranges. Give me another fruit here, kiwi. Yeah,
You're right.
and
Kiwi and
yeah,
then
yeah,
mangoes.
yeah. Now let's limit the fruits to that. And let's say somebody says kiwi is the best fruit. Because have you tried bananas, apples? No. Then and he goes, how did you rule out that that kiwi is better? How did you rule out that those are worse or inferior? How do you know kiwi is superior? Because you've only tried kiwi. Now it seems very reasonable. Now when Mansour says, "Do I have to taste every food in the world to know this is the?" In this context, yeah,
Yes, of
because
course. Yeah,
yeah, of
totally.
course, yeah. You've only tried a kiwi. How do you not know an apple might taste better to you? So he's not even thought it through because he's giving easy
I mean, the
examples.
idea is to take you down to a path which is gonna be, repulsive, and then
Yeah.
people will think that you have proven your point. You haven't, my mate.
Yes. Yeah, by giving these easy examples of poo and feces and manure, do I need to? But when it comes to
These
food,
these evoke emotions, by the way, Mahadan, and that's
yes,
why they seem like you have made some point. And
yes,
for someone who thinks through these arguments real carefully, they seem like absurd and really illogical arguments, pretty much, right? Childish, rather, I would say, not illogical, but rather childish arguments, pretty much.
Mhm.
Anyway, I think let's close the stream. I think we lost. I think we lost Otangelo during our conversation. But anyways, I hope if he listens back to it, And if he still wants to join in, probably in a minute or two, by the time I do our promotional stuff, he's more than will be more than happy to talk to him. If not, I'll request that he joins in the next stream, and first thing we'll do is we'll take him and we'll talk to him uh, because of what happened today, right? He couldn't join and he had to wait, and then yeah. But apart from that, I think anybody who's still with us, do like and share our content if you like it, basically, and not if you don't. And then comment underneath the video if you can. That's gonna, at least if you think we are bringing something of value. And see, the mission is pretty simple if you understand what we are trying to do here. We are trying to refute the rubbish that people like Mansoor and who was that guy, Aziz, and these guys are bringing, right? And unless until we get a support from you guys, or somehow we get more views, I think it's a little bit disappointing and demotivating for us to keep going. And so I would request you guys to at least spread the word, do whatever you can to at least keep motivated. And then we're gonna do is we're gonna bring videos like and dismantle their arguments pretty much, right? Show exactly where the problems lie. Our attacks are, and when I say attacks, I think probably because I couldn't find a milder word, our attacks are on the ideologies and not the people who believe in those ideologies. And I have clarified this hundreds of times in all our streams pretty much, right? Our aim is to expose the ideologies that these guys espouse, and that's what we do. We do have another English only channel, Unveiling Faith. Please do subscribe to that as well. And if you really want to support us monetarily, we have, I think what I did miss one thing today is this guy over here. So we do have English only channel, which is Unveiling Faith. And if you want to support us monetarily, you can do on Patreon at patreon.com/philosapiens, and buy me a coffee, buymeacoffee.com/philosapiens, same thing. And you have super chats and whatever is there on YouTube. I hope somebody considers supporting us in whichever way, whoever is able, basically. All right, Martin, do you have anything else to add here, or shall we shut down the stream? I mean, we would have really wanted to review another stream or two, but I think let's shut it down at 1-2 hour mark, right?
Yeah. No, I've got nothing to add. I think it's very late for everybody.
All right, yeah, I think let it be 2 hours, because otherwise it's gonna be a little too late. So, all right, everybody, Madhu, this was a nice stream. Thanks for joining the stream, and thanks everybody for joining the stream as well. Bye for now. See you in the next stream.
All right, bye-bye.